Hey guys, we're back with another one. Today we're going to be doing a swoop with the ponytail using Rio
ask you for help. It's like
and
I really
sensual.
need your help. Yeah, I bet you do.
So I'm just going to go ahead and get into the video. You can get your ponytail down or in the middle, like
down.
all the way down.
Your purchase could be free when you use your Credit Karma Visa debit card. Free groceries, free gas, or even a free TV. It's called Instant Karma, and you can only win it from Credit Karma Money. Open your account for free in the Credit Karma app. Credit Karma Money. Progress starts here.
In the year 1980, on Wednesday the 9th of July at exactly 11:54 p.m., a little girl named Jodi Arias was born in the city of Salinas, California, and completely unbeknownst to her doting parents, was destined to become one of the most infamous people in the United States of America.
I'm putting edge control in between the layers, just so it can lay down really flat in the middle part. I'm not going to put it on the perimeter or anything.
From what we know about her behavioral sequences, and despite what her defense team would later want you to believe, there's virtually nothing in Jodi's childhood that can be linked as a contributing factor to what she would eventually be capable of. The only thing worth mentioning was that she dropped out of high school in the 11th grade to pursue a career in photography, but it went nowhere, so she began working at a hotel restaurant, which became her occupation for the next 8 years. In February of 2006, at 26 years of age, she began a new job as a salesperson for a network marketing company called Prepaid Legal, and it was through this occupation where she crossed paths with fellow sales representative Travis Alexander, a 28-year-old practicing Mormon from Arizona, who also worked part-time as a motivational speaker.
When you get someone to the briefing, they say no, that counts. When you get someone fully exposed and they say no, that counts. Every time you get one of those, cross one off the list. By the time the 100th one's crossed off the list, you won't be able to spend the money.
He was a very charismatic young man, which immediately caught Jodi's attention. They met at a business conference in September of 2006 and began a curious relationship from that point forward. To cut a long story short, Jodi was in love, and Travis was not. They broke up after just 5 months, but soon after the split, Jodi moved from her grandparents' home in Yreka, California, into an apartment just 2 blocks from Travis's house in Mesa, Arizona. She was at that moment labeled the crazy stalker ex by all of Travis's friends, and although Travis agreed, he would continue having sex with her. She would show up at night, and Travis would let her in every time. It became somewhat of a routine, and a dysfunctional situation that neither were happy with. Travis, although he enjoyed the sex, essentially wanted her out of his life, while Jodi desperately wanted a serious relationship. And going off the myriad of entries in her diary, she firmly held on to the belief that they were meant to be together. In late May of 2008, however, she would ultimately have a change of heart. Travis had a work retreat planned to Cancun, Mexico for July 10th. It was all paid for by his employer and allowed him to take a friend with him. Jodi knew about this and believed, or at the very least hoped, that she would be the one going. Yet in the last week of May, it became known that Travis was taking another woman instead, a Mormon girl by the name of Mimi Hall. And the collective opinion is that a specific thought process began to emerge in her mind, one that forged a psychological justification for a certain decision. On June 4th, 2008, 6 days before Travis was set to leave for Mexico, Jodi would once more show up unannounced. All we know for sure is that they had sex and took explicit pictures of each other using Travis's new camera. At roughly 5 p.m., Travis would get in the shower, and Jodi would begin taking pictures of him using the same camera. Then, moments after this picture was taken, Jodi would stab Travis a total of 27 times. She would also cut his throat and shoot him in the face. During the onslaught, Travis's camera took 2 accidental photographs. The first was taken as Jodi dropped it during the onset of the attack. The second was taken as she kicked it by mistake while moving Travis's body. It showed Jodi's foot either fatally wounded or deceased Travis. The amount of time had passed from the to make sure none of her DNA was left behind. This included wiping down the victim's body with a cup of water and a cloth. She also deleted the pictures from Travis's camera before throwing it in the washing machine. She would then drive back out into the desert and leave Travis a voicemail for the purpose of placing herself away from the crime scene and giving herself an alibi.
I know what to call you, so I already talked to her, so you can call her back if you want, but it's not necessary. My phone died, so I wasn't getting wrecked anyway. And when I drove 100 miles in the wrong direction, over 100 miles, thank you very much. So yeah, I remember New Mexico, it was a lot like that. Only you weren't here to prevent me from going to the 3 digits, so fun. Tell you all about that later. Also, when we were talking about your upcoming travels, my wife was looking at the date calendar stuff.
Like she is really talking like that's a fucking psychopath, the boy.
Jodi would then drive to another man's house in Utah by the name of Ryan Burns and stayed the night. He would later testify that nothing seemed off about Jodi's behavior, only that they kissed and engaged in sexual intercourse. Travis's body was discovered by Mimi and her friends 5 days later, the day before they were supposed to leave to Cancun together.
How long were you there trying to get into the house?
Just, a couple of minutes, I mean, on the
something might be happening to him because I knew that he had a stalker. Travis's friend on the phone suggested that we go in through the garage and look for him in the house. And then as soon as they said that they saw blood, that there's blood everywhere, I stopped looking and said, he's dead, he's dead. And so immediately I called the police.
After the news of Alice's death, Jodi told the police he was then connected with the lead detective, Esteban Flores of the Mesa Police Department. The most notable detail of the phone call was that Jodi agreed to provide a sample of her DNA. Over the following month, forensics were able to uncover the deleted photos from Travis's camera, and despite her best efforts, discovered Jodi's DNA all over the crime scene. During this time, oblivious to the evidence that was building against her, Jodi would grab multiple pictures of Travis himself. She even sent his family flowers and a letter expressing her grief over his death.
Wow.
The Mesa Police Department launched their case against her. Left her interrogation. He had spoken with her once over the phone and was present when she was fingerprinted and swabbed for DNA. The Siskiyou County Police arrested Jodi at her grandparents' house at 7:35 a.m. and only said they had a warrant for her arrest without giving further information. She was placed in handcuffs and didn't once ask what she was being arrested for in a 6-minute drive to the local police station. What makes Jodi Arias stand out among the many cases in the realm of true crime is the manner in which she attempts to navigate the system. She seems to believe that if she presents herself in a certain way and adopts a very specific character with very specific traits, it will give her the best chance at evading the consequences.
She was really
Yet
secret.
everyone else is quite possibly the most universally annoying person to ever abide in the history of existence.
Alright, I ain't nothing, no man that important for my freedom. I'm sorry. Keep it, hold it down.
She stabbed him 27 times and cut
And shot him in the face, cut his throat and shot him in the face.
That bitch is evil.
It's fuck.
I wonder what he did to her though.
Didn't want to be with her no because he was taking the other girl on the trip.
Oh. That's the meaning of it. If I can hire nobody else.
Right.
In the next moment, Jodi will hear Detective Flores approaching the room. She will then abruptly place her head on the table to make it appear as if she's sleeping. She will now notice the detective has instead walked past the room and then revert back to her regular sitting position.
Okay, you guys, so the ponytail is done. Now let's start on the swoop part.
It's kind of silly, but I used to always joke that
Put your purse on the table, not the floor.
says, yes, I'm Christian, I just live my life like every man, and those are my rules. You know, thou shalt not this or that, but it doesn't say that.
So the ponytail is finished. We're going to go ahead and start doing the
We
swoop.
did pray about it. I remember being out by his bed once, and surprisingly, he suggested it. Normally, you know, I would suggest that we pray before we go on a trip or before we eat, if we're alone.
It was kind of unusual for him.
Yeah, because he was very resistant to prayer. He's like, so I'd say, will you say a prayer? He's like, why don't you say a prayer? Why don't you say a prayer? Why don't you say a prayer? So we go back and forth.
The detective is really about prayer topics in his mind.
Where he wanted to really start settling down. He felt like he needed to kind of grow up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, become a husband, become a father. Did you guys ever discuss possibly getting married or anything?
When we were dating, we did. Once we broke up, he brought it up. He actually proposed to me. A lot of times, but it was serious.
Let's move to after the breakup.
Oh, okay.
What,
That is very much a hate crime. 27 times cut his throat and shot him in the face. That's pure hate.
Psychotic person.
That's hate.
really?
Mhm.
I mean, it was a time period you really...
I just wonder how she could sleep at night.
Right.
He said that he's not sure why, but he's pretty sure that she could be it. And I was happy for him. I didn't find out about
This
Lisa.
conversation you had face to face with him?
Yeah, it was in his room. And he had his laptop, you know, was on his bed.
Jodi is desperately trying to make it appear as though her and Travis were on good terms. But this is just overkill. Jodi was labeled the crazy stalker X by all of Travis's friends, and even Travis himself. The idea that he would show and then discuss any potential future romances with Jodi is ridiculous.
And I truly believe you. He kind of pulls girls in. He was reluctant to make a commitment first off. And truly, he didn't think that you were marriage material. And I don't know why not. I mean, I see you. You're a wonderful girl. You're struggling. You're trying to make your way through life. And I don't see why you guys couldn't have made it.
There were so many
could, but I would try to get him to do the same for me. Like, there was a time when I broke down on the way to LA once, and my car got a flat tire, so I had at the time roadside assistance because my car was still under warranty, and they went to take the car in to change the tire and realized that when they sold me the car, they didn't give me the wheel lock key. I was kind of hungry. It was dinner time. It was 7:38, and it was dark because it was January. And the tow truck guy said, there's a Denny's 2 blocks down here, and there's a Jack in the Box there, and he was driving me to the motel. I said, is there an IHOP around? Because I really like IHOP. He's like, yeah, but it's kind of like 5 miles back in the other direction. I was like, okay. He's like, I can drive you there if you want. And I was like, he's like the short Mexican guy, and he seemed really harmless, and I was like, okay. And he, and I asked him about his life, and he had a wife and kids, and so he wasn't flirting.
The travels of Jodi
What
and the
they
sweet
gotta do?
Mexican continues on for another 2 minutes. The detective then brings Jodi's attention to what he already believes was the trigger motive for the murder.
So, moving over to his trip to Cancun that he was going to.
Didn't she get off? I'm sorry.
No.
She didn't.
She's in prison.
I didn't know that. I think that's awesome, actually.
Right.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, Mimi had called him a week or 2 before, and I told him, look, if you want to take somebody else, it's fine, but I have something to tell you. I don't look at you that way. I don't look at you as a boyfriend. If you want to be friends, we can be friends.
The detective essentially stated that Travis was friend-zoned by Mimi, but he still invited her instead of Jodi anyway.
What kept you to him? I don't understand.
Well, I know that hurt her mother.
Moving is expensive for one. So once I was there, I was kind of stuck there.
Why do you continue to go back to him? You know what he wants. You know that it's not healthy, but yet you continue to go back. And it brings us to this point where we are now.
Part of my perspective now has to do with the fact that I'm going through a repentance process that I've worked out with, with my bishop, and he's given me, certain scriptures to read and then ponder and pray about. And
Preacher Jodi will just for another 2 minutes more into details of scriptures and actions. The detective then rejects himself in no conversation with the fact that Jodi's behavior was Travis.
Obviously, you guys kept this relationship hidden from everybody else, and because nobody really knew about it.
well,
There were some people who I talked to and said, yeah, they continued to have a relationship even after they broke up. And there are others who were saying that you had become obsessive with him to the point to where you would go into his house when he wasn't there or when we weren't invited, and he would talk to people saying, she just kind of showed up, and I don't want to tell her to leave, but I don't want her here.
oh, must have been early on, because there were a couple times when we established a rule early on, just don't come over and he said, you can come over anytime, but I need to know first.
The detective then starts ramping up the pressure and brings Jodi's alibi and road trip into the discussion.
Was it the week of the first week of June? You took a trip to Salt Lake City, and dated and time-stamped on the day he died.
Are you sure it's me? No, because I was not there.
It's you.
But you saying, are you sure
You know
it's
it's
me?
you. I know all the details of this case.
Oh, wait, Jodi, you sure it's me? Did you see my face on the picture?
Why did you choose? Who is Travis?
I'm gonna help you get off, Jodi. Did he see your
Why
face?
did you do what you
Right.
Because tell him no face, no case.
did? Why did you? You did.
At this point, I'll lose my baby voice. Bitch,
You
listen.
heard me.
Well, nigga, I ain't doing it. So I don't know what y'all finna do.
At this
but
point,
if
I'm
I'm done talking, so y'all ain't letting me go.
Lawyer
Take me
up.
to my cell.
I could just arrest you and throw you in jail.
So he is being very facetious. Being
He
that maybe
he playing his part.
yeah, he is.
He did good with her, honey. So he let her talk and ramble.
He
and
using
he
his
stopped
baby
me to
voice.
that hoe. Yeah.
Just before he died.
I don't think he would allow that.
And the camera actually took a couple of photos by accident during the time he was being killed.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, she said, really?
Yeah, that really sounded just like this. I'm
I'm dead.
It's time for you to just come out and
I didn't
tell me.
know. I did not hurt Travis.
Don't try to use that white people
I
cry.
did not hurt Travis.
She said, I didn't know.
I wouldn't do that to him.
The detective then goes on to explain the DNA evidence collected at the crime scene, which includes Jodi's blood,
When you touched the blood.
Couldn't I? Hunger had already been there and I touched it.
Jodi, just cut it.
This is this is absolutely over. You need to tell me the truth.
Listen, the truth is I did not hurt Travis.
That hoe ain't
If you want, I can show you some
her
pictures of him. Do you want to see pictures of him?
No.
I
Part of me does and part of me doesn't.
Why? Because you don't want to remember?
No, there's a morbid curiosity.
Jodi,
I wanted to know how he died.
we can keep playing these games over and over again. I'm not going to leave you.
Right.
It's over.
Could it have been my blood from
Your
before?
image is not
He said, could it have been my blood from before?
Saving the rest of your life.
Before you left the house. After you fucking killed me.
It just seems so impossible. I want to see it. I want to know. I mean, I'm not like, I'm not a murderer, but I guess if I were to do that, I'd be clones or, you know, something. Okay, let's say for a second that I did.
Oh, look.
And I say, I did it. I mean,
The motive is there. The jealousy issue.
but I wouldn't even say I was jealous. I mean, there may have been some jealousy there, but
Then what is
I think
it?
if
What
anyone,
caused this?
I think if, you know, if anyone, maybe Travis was jealous, but
That's not what everybody else says. I can prove you were there. I can prove it. But what I don't have is I don't have answers of why it happened. Or, you know, maybe something just got out of hand. Maybe
He's trying to get
Maybe
her
things
way
that I
out.
did you find the gun? Maybe that was,
The gun.
How you just say you know how he
we're
died?
just playing games here.
Who is it?
I'm gonna take a little break. I need you to think about what you're doing. This is the best thing for you to do is to
What you said?
and what caused you to do this. I'll let you think about that. Okay? And I'm gonna go looking for some pictures and I'll bring them over and we'll continue this discussion. Okay? We go find
I'm gonna go look for some pictures
I'm not,
and bring it back. She don't need no pictures. She got mental pictures right now.
Yeah, and I know that's killing her. Alone.
She said, "Did you find the gun?"
Right.
But I
Didn't know what happened to him.
So go on, right?
I just saw a gun.
Your gym? You probably found it by now.
Probably. I was taking it from there.
These are just a few photos. And I want to be careful not showing you certain photos because some of them are very bad.
Travis were here today. He would tell you that if it wasn't me.
Well, he's not here to see her, so therefore it was you.
You made sure he went.
Seems you did.
Girl, you know
Yep. Jodi is then shown one of the pictures that was taken by accident while she was in the process of murdering Travis.
Okay, but that just shows shoes. That don't show her face.
it. You really on it?
Sentences are, the sentences are carried for something.
It depends on your situation, how old you are, depends on the type of crime. It depends on whether you show remorse for that. And part of that remorse is at least coming clean. But if somebody doesn't come clean, I don't see any remorse. I know you're afraid, but you're already going through it right now. There's no backing up. There's no backing up to yesterday. There's no backing up to that day. It already happened. And unfortunately, you're gonna have to face the consequences.
You know, if I did that, I'd be fully ready to face the consequences. I'm not really for things like, you know, I'm all for the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not kill.
Girl, wow.
I just can't. I didn't kill Travis. I just didn't. I did not take his life.
You need to come out. The conclusions and all the evidence. And we can just let a judge and a jury decide. We can leave it in the hands of the jury. We can do that, that's fine.
Would that help me at all?
I mean, you can't use them in court, but
Well, then there's no point taking it.
you took a knife to him and couldn't stop. Couldn't stop. Before you know it,
Travis has done a lot for me, and I wouldn't hurt him. He introduced the gospel to me.
Why is everybody saying that you are capable of hurting him? Everybody says it.
I haven't lied.
So don't tell me that you're not capable.
I haven't even hurt spiders.
Girl, bye.
I kicked a dog once.
Really? And she's trying to cry. Bye, Jodi.
And I love
I keep the dog once. Tried to bust out crying.
and
Still going.
we have this dog, his name's Doggy Boy, and my parents, until this dog that they have now, have never been able to, and I don't think just them, we as a family have never been able to care for a dog properly as far as giving attention and taking for walks and being consistent.
To save you the oncoming ramble about Doggy Boy the dog, she lightly tapped him with her foot for tearing open the trash, and she's felt so bad ever since that it changed her entire worldview on the animal kingdom. She now defies the dog through the detective, who's conducting her interrogation for first-degree murder.
And I need to apologize for that to him. I know it sounds weird, my relationship with animals, it's kind of like they're like people too, and they have souls.
What you need to do is you need to apologize to Travis.
Thank you. In that hole.
I can't hold him anymore for nothing. The sheriff's department. And you are facing personal murder charges. You are going to be booked into jail, and eventually you will be brought back to Arizona, and you will stand trial. That's the reality. And once you realize that, I think it'll be better for you. I can never get out of my head. Ever since the first day I fight for you. There's an old saying that, you know, someone's just not acting right. Look into it. You have not acted right from day one. You're just not acting right, Jodi.
I wanted to talk with you this morning. There's a couple of reasons, actually. Let me say this: it's obvious to me that you're not a typical suspect. You come from a good home, a good family. Your parents obviously care about you. That was evident when we talked to him yesterday. And you're a bright girl. Probably more intelligent than you were letting on yesterday. And there's no question in my mind or any of the other investigators' mind that you were the person that took Travis's life. But what I need to know, or what I'd like to know, and give me the opportunity to do, is determine whether you're a cold-blooded, cold-hearted murderer who slaughtered this guy, or are you somebody that got caught up in circumstances and things got out of control? When this hits the news, and it will, they'll go to the media, do you want to be portrayed as that cold-blooded, cold-hearted murderer? Because the media loves that. I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to give you a chance to make things right. Show the families that you do have some remorse. But when you continue to deny, when it's obvious that that's not the case, you appear to be the cold-blooded killer. And things are going to start moving real fast here for you. This is kind of a pause, before things start getting heavy. This is your opportunity to help yourself out. And we don't need you to tell us anything. I'm doing this for you. It's a matter of, do you want to take control of your situation and paint the picture of who you are? Because you're the only one that knows that.
The professional ruthlessness of this investigator is quite astonishing. The demeaning and sarcastic
the relationship? You know, were you hoping for marriage? Is this something that you were hoping for? Was he leading you down that path? You know, did he take advantage of you? Were there promises made that were broken? Did he betray your trust in some way? I don't know. Only you know that. This is not going to go away anytime soon. You're a young woman, just starting your life. You had a lot going for you. You should be fighting for yourself right now. And you let this eat at you. And it's going to destroy you. Or change you. In a way that you wouldn't want.
Jodi manages to veer off on trivial aspects of her and Travis' thing for an individual to have to sit there and take, especially someone who has used their fabricated sweet nature to their advantage most of their life in order to avoid these types of situations.
And if you're smart, you realize that, you know, you're not going to get a whole lot of other chances to do this, probably none. Once the wheels start turning, they will go fast. And you will be out of control then. You know, I'm a spiritual person myself, and I don't think that I would want that, you know, inside of me. I would want all of the ugliness of the lies inside of me. Mm-hmm. Take a minute just to think about what I said.
Let's get you under the table.
She know her beat the fuck up.
Jodi is clearly exhausted and terrified. She, at this moment, was being observed by both Detective Blaney and Detective Flores in another room, and they even contemplated having Detective Flores enter at this moment. They ultimately decided against it, however, and Detective Blaney re-enters the room to maximize this state of dejection. The pressure will now be increased to a considerable degree.
Maybe I did have a wrong picture of you. You know, all of this time that you and I have been talking, and I got information from your other interview,